First John 5:16 and 17. If you see another believer committing a sin that doesn't lead to death, you should pray that God would give that person life. So what he's saying there is, if you see a brother sinning, I'm not sure what he means by leads to death. Because I don't think he goes into it completely, but willfully sinning. Being a phony Christian, not really being a Christian, maybe, is what he's talking about. I'm not. It's not quite sure, but he's next few verses after this. He talks about if God's family is held securely in His hands. So it's saying if He's not. So maybe this is referring to if you see them struggling with sin instead of willfully sinning. Struggle shows that they're His. Pray for them. This is true for those who commit the sins do not lead to death, who commit sins that don't lead to death. There is a sin that leads to death, and I'm not telling you to pray about that. So he's saying don't pray about the sin that leads to death. He's saying I'm not telling you to pray. He's not even saying don't pray. He's saying specifically pray for each brother that's struggling with sin, because sin has a grasp on us. We still have the flesh, even though we have the Spirit now. So we as Christians should have a battle of doing between our flesh and what God leads us to. And it should be a battle we're letting God win by the Spirit and overcoming. But we fall to sin. But we shouldn't live for sin. And maybe that's what he's talking about. The sin that leads to death. Being under bondage of sin again. I'm not quite sure. Verse 17, every kind of wrongdoing is sin, yet there are sins that don't lead to death. I'm not quite sure what he's talking about. He doesn't go into detail. But there's certain things we should, as a Christian, should not be involved in. And what he's saying is sometimes it's better to leave that person alone if they're wrapped up into something they shouldn't be. Because sometimes it's better to let them fall. Let God deal with them, and hopefully He brings them back rather than jeopardize where we're at with the Lord. And I think that's what He's talking about. You don't have to pray for them with the sin that leads to death. Because you don't want to fall to the sin, get wrapped up in their sin.